When two airplanes are approaching each other, both must turn right to avoid a head-on collision. Taking off with trip winger. Chapter 7. Using his own torch, Hugo directed them down, down, down into the tomb. "It's quite beautiful," said Kale, until she noticed a vivid mural of twisting snakes. "I should hope so," said Jaundice, "as it's the last view we might ever see." Finally, the tunnel opened up into a chamber with two square columns. One featured the image of a boy, and the other featured a girl, both wearing white robes and bejeweled necklaces. They looked more than familiar. "Nay," whispered Kale. "And Nefret," Jaundice added. Between the columns stood a diminutive man wearing jeans, a denim shirt, and a red bandana tied around his neck. He was tan, with very white hair, a very pointy nose, and very small dark eyes, which seemed to glitter as he observed the Bland sisters. "That's the man from my dream!" Kale exclaimed. "Victor Gazebo," said Jaundice. "Ah," he said. "Smart girls. I'd say you take after your parents, but it turns out they weren't quite as clever as they thought." He motioned to a shadowy corner. Jaundice and Kale squinted. At first, the Bland sisters thought they were seeing another set of hieroglyphs, of a woman and a man with their backs to each other, their hands and feet bound with rope, and their mouths gagged. The woman was beautiful, with tawny skin and dark hair, and the man was pale, with less distinctive features, though it was clear that he had a determined set to his jaw. "What does that symbol mean?" Jaundice asked. "I know I've seen it before," said Kale. "Somewhere." As she tried to consult her mother's journal in the dimness, the man and woman turned and looked at the Bland sisters, both of their eyes wide. "Wait," said Jaundice. "What?" said Kale. "The symbol. It just moved," said Jaundice. Kale looked up from the journal. Her mouth dropped open. "Mother?" said Jaundice. "Father?" said Kale. Despite the gags in their mouths, Hatshepsut, and Albertus Magnus Jr. tried to respond. Jaundice and Kale ran to their parents and embraced them. They smelled of sweat and of spices. Unfortunately, Hattie and Bert could not reciprocate, as their hands were still bound. But this reunion still managed to bring back another flood of memories for the Bland sisters. Jaundice remembered reaching into one of her father's vest pockets and pulling out a thimble. Her father had made the thimble disappear, and then magically pulled it out of her ear, and she had laughed and clapped her hands. Kale remembered curling up in her mother's lap while her mother read a book. Kale herself could not read at that point, but being in her mother's lap was enough. And then Jaundice and Kale shared the same memory of sitting at the breakfast table while their parents fed them spoonfuls of perfectly plain oatmeal and sips of perfectly tepid tea. It all felt so right, being back together again, the Bland sisters thought, even if everything else in the current situation felt very, very wrong. "What a lovely family reunion," said Victor, smirking. "And how serendipitous that you're all here together, in the burial chamber of Seti I's forgotten children." "We know all about serendipity," Kale informed him. "This is not a good example." Gazebo laughed. "Not for you, perhaps, though this can all end well for everyone, as long as you've brought what I'm after. Do you have the scarab?" The Bland sisters' parents started shouting, though what they were saying was muffled. Kale leaned in. "I think they're saying, 'Don't give it to him,'" she determined, "though it also sounds a bit like, 'No, isn't it swim?'" "Once I have both scarabs, I can sell them to a certain very interested and very wealthy buyer." Do you know how much some men will pay for the ability to enter other people's dreams? Gazebo explained.